Thanks for joining me on episode 489 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Paulson from Kara. I challenge you to discover your true identity and calling so you can be empowered to live every day to the fullest. One way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend Scott Mater.
Discover that we're around people that are very negative about the things that we do or the things that we love. And I encourage you, even if the friends and family that you have around you are negative, I encourage you to be the positive influence, to be the person in the room that says to everyone else, and how can we do this? Instead of, yeah, but.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about developing your influence through stewarding your talent, I talk with you about how you influence your friends around talent, how your friends influence you around your talent, and what you can do about it.
You've heard me talk about developing your talent, and one of the best ways to do that is through books. But if you're like most people today, it's hard to find the time to read, and that's why today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Go to inspiredstewardship.com/audible to sign up, and you can get a 30-day free trial. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from, and you can pick one and listen your way to developing your talents via Audible. That's inspiredstewardship.com/audible to get your free trial and listen to great books the same way you're listening to this podcast.
Yesterday, we talked a little bit about how whenever you surround yourself with people that are self-disciplined, you tend to become more self-disciplined. It lets you have a better sense of controlling your time. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about friends and how you influence your friends and they influence you around the area of talent. Talent to me, I'll define it a little bit because a lot of times I think whenever people hear this, they wonder what I'm talking about because we talk about talented people as something that people are born knowing how to do. You know, you're born talented. But the truth is, talent is simply about those things that you can do that others find difficult, others struggle with. And when you think about it that way, when you frame it that way, you recognize that sometimes those are things that you're naturally born with, but sometimes they're also things that you've learned and developed and grown in and worked at over years and years and years and years. It's all of these areas around how your mind, your body, how your skills come together with your passion and allow you to do something that you really are called to do. Something that you're the best person, or at least one of the best people at doing. And I know immediately most people start to think and say, well, there's nothing that I'm the best person at. I mean, there's tons of people that are better at than I am at all the things that I do. But best here doesn't mean best as in you're better at others. Best here means this is the areas where you are better than other areas of yourself. It's the areas where your abilities shine, where you're able to do things that others look at and go, wow, how did that come so easy to you? And you don't even know, and sometimes don't even recognize it because it did come so easy to you. So instead of thinking about talent as natural ability, think of talent as those things that you're really able to do and others don't always recognize it. And when you frame it that way, then think about how you influence your friends when it comes to your talent. It's interesting because when we have areas where we're gifted, Sometimes what that does is sort of challenges other people. They begin to struggle because they look at something and they go, wow, you can do that and it comes so easy to you. I don't have anything in my life that is anywhere close to that. And that's probably a lie, but they begin to feel that way. They fall into the comparison trap. They compare themselves to you. And they struggle. So does that mean you should hide your talents? No, absolutely not. You should let your talent shine out. But it does mean that you have to be careful about how you communicate about your talents. You can't make it into a competition. You can't make it into a situation of I'm better than you. Instead, you have to look for those things in your friends that they can do and call those things out, recognize them, help them develop them, help them pull them out. If you do that, if you begin to lift up the people around you and help them recognize their own talents and abilities and help them develop them and help them pull them out, then all of a sudden, the fact that you're good at something and the fact that they're good at something is no longer a competition. Instead, it's about, wow, what are we all good at? Let's all get better together. And the same thing happens in reverse. See, when you look at your friends around you and you recognize their talents, you often will fall into the same comparison trap. You'll look at them and you'll go, wow, that person is so good at business. That person is so good at singing. That person is so good at swimming. That person is so good at whatever it is that they're gifted at doing. And because of that, you'll begin to say, I'm not good. I don't have something. I don't have any areas of my life that are like this, where I'm special. And that's a lie. You do. There are things that you can do. I guarantee it, because I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the years about this, and I've always been able to help them discover something that they had some skills at, some ability at, some natural talent at, whatever it was, and some passion for it. There's always such an overlap. And when you really zone into it and do that thing, you are successful beyond belief. And what's interesting is if you surround yourself with friends that do two things, then all of a sudden this influence begins to work better and better and better. And the first thing, the impact comes from if you look at other people and you recognize them and you say, hey, look at this, help them develop their talents. And if you surround yourself with people that cheer and support when you get to use your talents, they look at you and instead of saying, I don't know how you'll ever turn that into a business, whatever that is. I don't know how you'd ever succeed at doing that. I don't know why anyone would care that you're good at that. If you surround yourself with the people that lift you up instead of tearing you down around your abilities, then you're going to get out there and you're going to succeed more and more and more. And what's interesting is when you recognize that a lot of times the reason people tear you down is because they themselves don't yet see their own abilities. They're blind to it. They're comparing and they're feeling bad. So they tear you down because see, if we're all down here, then I don't have to worry about the fact that there's something I'm not good at. I don't have to feel bad anymore. Instead, I can feel good about myself because, there is no risk. There is no comparison. There is no pain. Instead, surround yourself with cheerleaders, not yes men, not people that just blindly say yes to everything you put out there, but people that actually look at you and go, instead of saying, yeah, but, they say, and how? Instead of saying, yeah, but that will never work, they say, how can we make this work? Let me help you. That's the thing that you need to do to have your circle of friends and you influence each other, impact each other, and begin to lift each other up into success. So as you sit down this Thanksgiving week, you're going to be around family and friends. And for a lot of us, sometimes we discover that we're around people that are very negative about the things that we do or the things that we love. And I encourage you, even if the friends and family that you have around you are negative, I encourage you to be the positive influence, to be the person in the room that says to everyone else, and how can we do this? Instead of, yeah, but. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of talent, you can go over to inspiredstewardship.com/talent and sign up for our 5-week series on the stewardship of talent. Or if you're in the U.S., you can text 44222 talent tips. That's talent tips to 44222 and get those tips. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.